Okay, so let's break down a really complex story that unfolded in the Indian Ocean. We've got a warship sinking from a torpedo strike, a completely separate rescue mission saving hundreds of sailors, and a neutral country caught smack in the middle of it all. This is a chain of events that connects nations all the way from West Asia to the Indo-Pacific.
We're gonna jump right into the heart of it, a torpedo strike. This happened far away from the main conflict zones in West Asia, but it instantly sent ripples across the globe. An Iranian naval frigate was hit, and just like that, a regional conflict spilled out onto a much, much larger stage.
And the human cost was immediate and just devastating. As the Sri Lankan authorities raced to respond to the distress calls, they recovered 87 bodies from the sea. That number alone really sets a grim tone for this whole incident.
So let's really break down what happened in that initial attack. We're going to focus first on the fate of one specific ship, the Iranian frigate, the Iris Dina.
The facts here are pretty stark. The Iris Dina was out in international waters just off the coast of Sri Lanka when it was hit. Now, Sri Lanka did answer the distress calls immediately, but by the time help could actually get there, the tragedy was already well underway. Only 32 sailors were pulled from the water alive, all of them injured, and sadly many more were still missing.
You know, an attack like this is never ever just about one ship. It immediately pulls in a whole bunch of international players. So let's look at how this single strike involved a whole web of different nations and alliances. And here's where it gets more complicated. The submarine that fired that torpedo wasn't crewed by just one nation. It was operating under a major defense pact, which, as you can imagine, really muddies the waters of who's responsible and brings a very specific agreement into the spotlight. And that pact is AUKUS. Now, if you're not familiar with it, AUKUS is a trilateral security deal between Australia, the UK, and the US. It's all about sharing advanced defense tech in the Indo-Pacific, and its existence is absolutely central to understanding who was on that submarine. Right, so here's where we need to see the clear distinction they made. The submarine itself was American, and it was US forces who fired the torpedo. But, and this is a big but, there were also 3 Australian military personnel on board. Australia's Prime Minister moved really fast to clarify their role, stressing they were only there for training as part of the AUKUS deal and had absolutely no part in any offensive action. Okay, now this is where the story takes a really critical turn, and I'll be honest, it's easy to get confused here. At the very same time all this was happening, Sri Lanka was dealing with a totally separate incident that also involved an Iranian vessel in distress. So, to really get a grip on the whole situation, you have to see this as a tale of 2 vessels. One was attacked and sunk. The other was simply stranded and needed humanitarian help. It's crucial we keep these 2 threads separate. This table makes the difference crystal clear. On one side, you've got the Iris Dina, which was torpedoed, resulting in a tragic loss of life. But on the other, you have a second, unnamed vessel that was just stranded. And for this ship, the outcome was completely different. For that second vessel, the Sri Lankan Navy launched a massive, full-scale rescue operation. They successfully brought all 208 of its crew members safely to shore. It was a huge humanitarian effort, and it was happening right alongside the aftermath of that military strike. So who were these 208 people? Well, as you can see, it was a whole mix of personnel, officers, cadets, senior sailors, and sailors. They were all transferred to Sri Lankan naval ships, taken to Colombo, given medical care, and there were even plans to let their ship dock for repairs. So, try to put yourself in Sri Lanka's shoes. Here you have a neutral country conducting this huge rescue for one nation's sailors, while another nation's military is sinking a warship from that same country right off its coast. This whole situation really forces us to look at Sri Lanka's official position on all this. And this whole episode really just boils down to one fundamental question, right? When a conflict spills out into international waters, what is the role and what are the rights of a nation that's declared itself neutral? The president of Sri Lanka actually addressed this head on. And this is the crucial takeaway. The president of Sri Lanka basically said, look, our neutrality is firm, but our commitment to humanity comes first. He even questioned the whole point of international laws, saying they're pretty much meaningless if the neutrality of peaceful nations isn't respected by those at war. So, to sum it all up, Sri Lanka's position is this really delicate balancing act. They're saying, we are not part of this war, and we expect that to be acknowledged. But at the same time, they're making it clear that no matter the politics, they're going to act on humanitarian grounds. They rescued those 208 sailors and promised to keep providing aid. And all of this leaves us with one last big thought. This whole incident, the attack, the rescue, the plea, it shows that in our modern, interconnected world, conflict rarely ever stays contained. When war moves across oceans and into busy international shipping lanes, it really forces us to ask, is it even possible for any nation to remain truly neutral anymore?